I took my passion of hip hop and I compared it to the world of business because hip hop culture is definitely a business in itself. Those first couple years, you're putting in a ton of hours and that's not hours that you're getting paid for.
I don't know which way is right.
Yeah.
From your side of things, what's the best approach?
Healthy boundaries, man. You gotta have those. Always be okay just having fun. Those self-limiting beliefs, I can't do it, or they're a perfectionist, so they're getting in their own way. Content is a huge thing now, especially in the social media age. So imagination, creativity, that's, I think, the driving home piece for the kid. Driving home of your passion. Like, you can make income from your passion. You can't just stay behind a computer all day. You can't just be in books all day. Sometimes you have to bring those books to life. It's not always gonna be easy to just stick on this one path. Life happens.
Hey Tori, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. It is amazing to have you on the podcast. Before we kick on, it'd be great to hear a bit more about you. And I guess, how did you hear about the podcast?
So, a colleague of mine definitely sent me over your podcast and was like, this would be a great place for me to share my story. And I was like, you know what, let's go for it. But my name is Dr. Tori Ellis. I am a transformational life and business coach. Outside of being a serial entrepreneur and a bestselling author, I'm also a mom of a young child. She's 2 years old. So mompreneur vibes all over here.
I guess, how long have you been within the entrepreneurship space, and how did you get started in it?
I started in 2019. Actually, it was I guess you say your upcoming story. I left the field of teaching. I had a car accident, and I ended up not being able to work. And in that process, I had already just published my first book, seeing that's The Sound of Business, seeing entrepreneurship through hip hop. And from there, when I couldn't work, I was like, you know what? Let me start my coaching business. And I started The Sound of Business. So 2019 was the very beginning of this baby of mine, and now we are here. And it's been growing for the past, 4 years? 5 years?
Tell me about the what was the entrepreneurship through hip hop? What does that mean?
So, okay, I have my doctorate in human organizational psychology, and for my master's, which is in industrial organizational psych, we had to do a capstone class, and my professor wanted us to write a book based off of what we learned in the class and our experience. So I took my passion of hip hop and I compared it to the world of business because hip hop culture is definitely a business in itself, and I was able to, put together the different facets of hip hop, from artists to, them being independent or having a record label behind them, starting brands for themselves like clothing or sneakers or, even the tech field like Tidal or, joining Apple. And I compared that to entrepreneurship and how entrepreneurship has its ups and downs, but then also the team dynamics. If you are building a business out that has more than just you running it. And from there, I was able to express business in a way that is relatable and easily able to digest, because it can get very heavy. It could be a lot. So, yeah.
I guess, what were the main sort of comparisons that you drew from the two worlds? Because from the surface of it, I guess a lot of people might think they're very different, but from the examples that you gave, there's a lot of similarities for sure. But I guess, what was the most interesting thing that you sort of uncovered?
In each person is an artist. So if you are an artist in your own right, you're a business owner or you're an entrepreneur, you have a product you're creating or you have a brand that you're creating and you're putting your brand out there. Just like a music artist, that would be your mixtape. That would be your song, So with that, you are taking and you are circulating it out for the masses, and you're finding your tribe, your group of people who would love your music, love your product. Same thing with these artists in the hip hop fields. But outside of that too, some of them either do it independently, which means you're doing it by yourself. So you're raising your capital, you're growing your brand, you're doing your marketing, and you're putting in the footwork for it. Or you may have a machine behind you, which in hip hop world or in music itself, that means you have a label behind you. So you have those A&Rs who are on your team. You have that marketing team that can help you, delegate those things and navigate that. So literally it's the comparisons of there. But then also you can see how too that not just one product is the same. And then as you continue to evolve over time, just how hip hop evolved over time, you can see how you are growing your product too. You are listening to what your audience or your customers are saying that they need. And then you're creating products that support that as well. So you have customer relations on top of it too. Your product probably was something that was maybe an audio, but now you have something that's visual. Now you have something that's tangible. So your products have opened up and changed, just like how hip hop has evolved over time. More products have come out with their artistry. They probably have gotten into brand deals. They probably have added on, streaming, like, on Spotify or on Apple Music. They have done these things to get different forms of income or different streamlines of income from different products, or maybe one product, but in different forms from your digital, like I said, digital, physical, it changes. So it was able to see and compare the two. And if anyone loves hip hop, then they would be able to probably go along with it a little bit better. But if you are not familiar with hip hop now, in that book, you're able to get a pretty good idea of what the hip hop culture is too. So it's kind of opening up the world in the eyes of entrepreneurship, of business, but also of hip hop.
And I guess like what was the next step for you after writing and publishing that book? Because you moved more into the sort of coaching side of things, right?
So for me, like I said, it took different forms. First came out the book. And once the book came out, I said, you know what? If I'm doing this for the youth, I'm doing this for adults, then I need to do something for the kids, because even kids too are mini entrepreneurs. So that made me start with my kids' books and having, books for them on entrepreneurship. That's a new stream of income, right? And from there, I ended up taking those books, me and my business partner, and grew them into youth programs. So now we're servicing kids and teaching them, sustainable living, teaching them things in STEAM and mindfulness. Another stream of income. It changed, it evolved. And now, after more experience and more time, and then going and get my doctorate and being more involved on like the human side of things, the leadership side of things too, and how I've been able to grow and expand these businesses and go through those transitions. Now it's like, okay, coaching, being able to help those who want to build their business, be an entrepreneur, but they can't pull together that clarity or have that, wherewithal to be like, what is my focus? And sometimes too, it's the personal side of it, like those self-limiting beliefs. I can't do it. Or they're a perfectionist, so they're getting in their own way. Or, maybe just being a little bit stuck on their vision and how to like really bring it to life. So that's where I come into play. And that's where the coaching happens. So I'm helping them in life, helping them in business, and bringing their vision to life and helping them see themselves, if it is a year from now or 5 years from now, from their goal, helping them be able to see that it's attainable now and helping them grow in that aspect.
Before we go on to the coaching side of things, I'm really interested to hear, because I know a lot of people listening would love to get into the whole literary, side of things and write their own stories or just publish books. And how did you actually because you went from, writing the comparisons between, hip hop and the world of business to then writing children's books around, entrepreneurship, which sounds absolutely amazing. And I can sort of see, massive applicability when it comes to young people and entrepreneurship. I think a lot of young people, they sell stuff in school, and there's a lot of, there is a trajectory there for sure. But how did you actually start writing, and how did you get published?
So apparently I started writing when I was in third grade. I ended up running into an old teacher of mine, and she told me I had wrote a book in third grade, and she still had it. So being a writer and having a way with words has always been something I love to do. That was one of my artistry, right? But then, now growing and doing that, I self-published. It was easier for me to self-publish too, so that way I was able to keep my story as authentic as I wanted it to be. You can go into publishing firms, and sometimes too, they would take your manuscript and they can adore your manuscript and love it. And they'll be like, okay, let's publish it just like this. But then sometimes too, if they have an idea of what the public may want, you may not have control over what your manuscript may look like. There's going to be a lot of editors involved. It may change a little bit. So with that, it can be a little bit tricky. And maybe what you initially wanted to say or the story you initially wanted to tell may alter a bit, and that's not how you originally wanted it. So I did the self-publishing route. So that way I can make sure my story was told how I wanted it to be told. And since then, I've just been self-publishing, and it has been fun because I've been in control of my content. But at the same time, too, it requires a lot of footwork because I have to do the marketing on my end. So it's like in hip hop, I'm an independent artist. I got to do my footwork. I got to go out and, put my face out there, market my books, and get audience and get people involved.
It's becoming more common though, right? Like self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Most
had a few
definitely.
guests on that have done the same thing.
Yes, most definitely. I feel like the pandemic definitely had a lot of change when it comes down to people being able to now sit with themselves, sit with their thoughts, but then create books, especially when they were able to see where it was lacking, what is missing, whether it's representation, whether it's a story that they want to say, or whether it's they just want to put a new feel out there. Everyone started to dig into their creative bag of goodies and started to create. So businesses popped up, new authors popped up, these amazing books popped up, and it was just like, it was a beautiful time. So the pandemic had its downfalls, but it definitely was an up and coming play for a lot of people and their businesses and their stories for sure.
And I guess like logistically though, Tori, how did you actually self-publish yourself? Did you do it through Amazon? Did you do it through like, I don't know how the logistics work. So just as a bit of like an insight there.
Just a couple gems because, definitely if you are looking to self-publish, I can help you with that or, make those connections. But Amazon KDP is a great way to do it for sure because you're able to publish and they do help you with the ISBN. But then outside of that too, I would say Ingram Sparks. Ingram Sparks is another way. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And what will be very interesting as well is the ones that you've written for the children's books. What is the main takeaway? Like, what's the key thing that you feel like is unique about children that, because we have a lot of young people that listen to this, of course, not children, but like young adults. And what is that sort of, I guess, essence that you get within like they're trying to, write to a child that kind of lives on to like an early 20s entrepreneur?
I'd say it's the imagination, your creativity. Kids have an imagination about them that they can, imagination play is a thing. If you think about how we were younger, I don't know if you had a lemonade stand, but I had a lemonade stand at one point, and I thought 25 cents was everything, just making lemonade and having that fun behind it. So it's imagination and keeping the creativity alive. And with kids, driving home of your passion, like you can make income from your passion. And a lot of times your passion is what is fueling your dream. It's your motivation. So it's making sure that you're not losing that creativity. You're not losing that imagination, because once you start to really shrink yourself into this box and the imagination and the creativity is gone, it gets kind of hard to create. And that's just even like creating content. And content is a huge thing now, especially in the social media age. So imagination, creativity, that's, I think, the driving home piece for, the kids, and just keeping your passion alive and, wanting to do stuff from the heart.
Because I see so many young people that when they sort of grow older, that imagination and creativity part of their, I guess, mind, I guess, decreases or it denurtures, or it doesn't exist. It's not as strong as it used to be. I don't know what you think causes that. And I guess how do you ensure that doesn't happen to you? Because I feel like as an entrepreneur, the creativity aspect, regardless of which sort of type of business you're building, it's still so vital in what you're trying to do.
Right. I mean, a lot of things can affect your creativity from the schooling you went to, life happens and things can happen in your life that can change how you view things, what you learn and pick up from other people too. And, if you have these really stressful jobs and these really, they can affect your morally. They can affect you morally. They can, touch on your heartstrings a little bit. It can affect a lot. So there's a lot of things in life that can really alter your creativity and your imagination. But like you said, with that, to ensure it, it's just a matter of, I would say, one, letting your inner child always live. Always be okay just having fun. And then two, a lot of times unpacking that. And if you have done or been through things that definitely affected you or has affected your creativity, affected how you feel about certain things, unpacking it, getting to the bottom of it. What has caused me to do these things? And that's not an easy task to do. Sometimes you have to have help and a great support system, whether that is therapy or, support system around you of friends and family who you can talk to about these things. And they're open for these conversations, these tough conversations. And we call it trauma. So unpacking that. But yeah, I guess it's just a matter of that, being able to have those honest conversations with yourselves, heal, but then also just let your inner child live and enjoy life, go and experience things, do things that you have never done before, and allow those moments to like fill you up. So fill up your bucket. Yeah.
What's your view on like I guess hustle culture in terms of, because I see so many like contrasting views on this where, you have an entrepreneur and on one hand, they can very much just stay inside all the time and just continuously work on their computer and, they work sort of X amount of hours per day. They don't get much sleep, like they hardly leave the house, whatever. And then you have the opposite where, they try to go out as much as they can. They try to sort of build their business on the side of, having fun, and their business is kind of like built around their lifestyle, as it were. I don't know which way is right. I don't know which way is, obviously it depends on the person, but from your side of things, what's the best approach?
I would say it's, like you said, it really depends on the person, but I would say it's like a little mixture of both. It's being able to be disciplined enough to be like, hey, I'm going to dedicate this time to do X, Y, and Z for my business. One brick a day or one step a day, you're growing, right? But then two, allowing you to live in the moment, be present, and go out and explore and live life too. You only have one life to live. So you can't just stay behind a computer all day. You can't just, be in books all day. Sometimes you have to bring those books to life. If you're reading travel books, go travel. So I would say it's a matter of just finding that balance. And when you find that balance that works for you and you're able to, create those lifelong experiences, that probably also would help your creativity.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and bring it alive. So for me, it's a balance of both. I have to do both. I literally just did a post today about having work-life balance, or as I say now too, mom-life balance. Like, you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of everybody else. Same aspect, you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of your business. If you can't run it and you can't manage it, no one else is going to do it. So you gotta be able to take care of yourself first too.
And Tori, let's talk about that, because we talked about like the hustle culture, traveling and maintaining that level of creativity, and I guess setting time aside for all those different things. But then when you have, something that happens in your life that changes that, and, having a child, what does that mean in terms of entrepreneurship, and how do you maintain, that family lifestyle? Because you obviously want to be there for your family, like that makes a ton of sense. But then I guess, how do you do both?
Balance. Balance. Because at the end of the day, I feel like depending on who you are, like, adding a new expansion of yourself can definitely be a driving force. Like, my daughter is definitely my driving force. She's my motivation. If I had motivation before, I had passions before, she just added to it. So now I'm just ready to go at it more and, be more aggressive with it and definitely put myself out there some more, because I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for her. I'm doing it for our community. But then to wanting to be present and available for her and her needs as she's growing, and be able to see her do things that, it happens one time, like taking those first steps, or, you know, those first words, getting her ready for school in the morning, just saying simple things like, I love you. It's a matter of just taking that time and having that balance, whether that means I'm going to have to take a Monday to myself, or Mondays I don't work. I'll do light emails, do light work, so that way we can have mommy and daughter time. And then Tuesday through Friday, I'm in the hustle. And on the weekends, I'm off. You know, it's a matter of just prioritizing it. And I
And
mean,
setting boundaries.
yeah, healthy boundaries, man. You gotta have those. So it's necessary. And once you're able to find your groove, it's a little bit better. And two, you know, new levels require new routines. So go with the flow because it's not always going to be easy to just stick on this one path. Life happens. So when something
Yeah.
happens and it shakes it up, it's like, okay, let's adjust. A new level, new routine. Let's get it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen the opposite to be true, where the individual wants to start a business, and then a child comes along, and then that's it. Their entire sort of energy and time goes into raising that child, and then that sort of dream business they wanted to build it goes on the back burner. We've
Right.
had guests on the podcast before. The one that sort of comes to mind is Kieran. If you want to check out the episode, it was maybe 20, 30 episodes ago. He had a kid very young, and he said the same thing as you, where you know, he was a teenager when he had his son, and that became a massive driving force for him actually succeeding. So it can go either way, and that's what I find really interesting when I speak to parents.
Yeah, it can definitely take a toll. It can either be a driving force, but also it could be like, all right, all my focus now is on my child and I can't chase dreams. I got to make sure that, you know, I have stability coming in. And with entrepreneurship, especially in the early stages, it's very hard to say what's going to be stable because, you know, we talked about it, those first couple years, you're putting in a ton of hours and you may not see that turnover right away, or you're putting in those hours and that's not hours that you're getting paid for because you got to pay yourself, right? So when you have a child now, it's like, I have another mouth to feed. Like I got someone else to clothe. Like I have to make sure that stability is consistent. So it can definitely be a toss up and teeter-totter. But I mean, like, you know, I feel like if you have a great mindset, and it helps with your mindset being strong. If you know that this vision that you want is going to produce it. I mean, sometimes two people pick up a part-time job so that they can still keep up this vision that they want with their entrepreneurship, but they just pick up something that they can, you know, provide just some income in the time being. It's just a matter of how you creatively navigate it. And everybody's different. So every way may look different for somebody, and that's what fits for them. So it definitely is not a one size fit all kind of thing.
I think either, you know, I think any variation of what you just said and what I said before, it's okay. It's okay as long as that individual is accepting that, you know, if you do prioritize one over the other, or if you prioritize and set boundaries in areas, then you can't expect the other one to sort of grow if you're not putting any time into it. So you're not putting time into, I guess, the relationship with your kids. Your business may grow, but like the relationship with your kids might not grow. And then like the vice versa, the opposite is also true. So if you do set boundaries and you want to do both, then I guess it's accepting that potentially your business might not grow as fast as it could. But the reason why is because you're building a very good relationship with your children. And, you know, so I think as long as you can accept and you don't have that sort of like inner regret, then everything's healthy.
Yeah. And I mean, if you still want your business to grow too, then you have to be okay with delegating. And delegating can be a really hard task because, you know, that was your first baby before your baby came, right? So,
Exactly.
you know, it's hard to give someone else the reins and be like, hey, I need help managing this because you have a certain way that you want it done. But if you want it to grow a certain kind of way, you want it to grow at a certain rate, sometimes it is just a matter of being like, hey, I'm going to have to delegate this so I can be able to do both and excel at both at a great rate and be comfortable with it. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
For sure. All right, Tori, we're going to wrap up the episode there, but it was such a pleasure having you on and talking about all those different things. So yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How can people stay in touch with you and what you're doing?
Well, you can stay in touch with me on Instagram. You can find me at always_Dr. Dr. Tori, Torii, or you can go to my website, thesoundofbusiness.org, and my services are there too. So if you do need a transformational life or business coach for you to grow these businesses and find that balance, I'm here. So also on LinkedIn as well, Tori Ellis, Psy, PSY, and I'm readily available.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Tori, for coming on again. And I'm sure we'll speak very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for clicking on this episode of The Millennial Entrepreneur. The ambition of the podcast is to share relatable stories from young entrepreneurs doing some incredible things to inspire the next generation, including you listening wherever you are. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years and the ambition has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the scale of where we want to go. We want to bring on bigger guests for you guys to show more and more relatable stories from young entrepreneurs across the world. The majority of you guys watching or listening haven't subscribed to the podcast yet. All you have to do is click that subscribe button wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and that will allow us to bring on bigger guests and ask the questions that you really want to hear. And it really is that simple.